Township of Edison Zoning Board of Adjustment, regular meeting of September 19th, 2023 is now in session. Adequate notice of this meeting as required by the Open Public Meetings Act of 1975 has been provided by the annual notice published in the Home News and Tribune on January 14th, 2023, and has been posted in the main lobby of the municipal complex on January 3rd, 2023. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
Allegiance to the flag, United States of America, to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Mr. Bigno? Here. Ms. Shaw?
Present.
Mr. Ayotte?
Here.
Mr. Chabra?
Here.
Mr. Cerrito?
Here.
Ms. Hernandez-Prince?
Present.
Mr. Patel?
Present.
Vice Chair O'Gorman?
Present.
And Chairman Kumba?
Here. Thank you very much. We have one announcement, case number 2 on the agenda, case Z24, 2022, Old Post Realty LLC at 604 and 610 Old Post Road. It has been carried to November 28th, 2023. If you are here for that case, Z24, 2022, Old Post Realty LLC at 604 and 610 Old Post Road, that case will not be heard this evening. It will be heard on November 28th, 2023. You will not, if you had received a notice for this meeting, you will not receive a notice for the next meeting. This is your notice. Madam Secretary, do we have minutes for consideration?
Yes, we have the minutes of August 29th, 2023 for approval.
Motion to approve? Second.
Motion made by Vice Chairman O'Gorman, seconded by Mr. Patel. Roll call, please.
Mr. Chabra?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Cerrito?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. Patel?
Yes to the motion.
Ms. Hernandez-Prince?
Yes to the motion.
Vice Chair O'Gorman?
Yes.
And Chairman Kumba?
Yes on the motion. Madam Secretary, first resolution for adoption.
Z11, 2023, Amish Seth?
Motion to approve? Second.
Motion made by Vice Chairman O'Gorman, seconded by Mr. Patel. Roll call, please.
Mr. Chabra?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Cerrito?
Yes on the motion.
Ms. Hernandez-Prince?
Yes to the motion.
Vice Chair O'Gorman?
Yes.
And Chairman Kumba?
Yes. Madam Secretary, next motion on, next resolution to be adopted.
Z13, 2023, Devendra Patel?
Motion to approve? Second.
Mr. Cerrito?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. Patel?
Yes on the motion.
Vice Chair O'Gorman?
Yes.
And Chairman Kumba?
Yes. Next resolution to be adopted.
Z14, 2023, Sushit Doshi?
Motion to approve? Second.
Motion made by Vice Chairman O'Gorman, seconded by Mr. Patel. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cerrito?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. Patel?
Yes on the motion.
Vice Chair O'Gorman?
Yes.
And Chairman Kumba?
Yes. Next resolution for consideration.
Z15, 2023, Najib Sayani?
Motion to approve? Second.
Motion made by Vice Chairman O'Gorman, seconded by Mr. Patel. Roll call, please.
Mr. Chabra?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Cerrito?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. Patel?
Yes on the motion.
Vice Chair O'Gorman?
Yes.
Chairman Kumba?
Yes on the motion. And any further resolution for consideration?
Z16, 2023, Ratan Narnolia?
Motion to approve? Second.
Motion made by Vice Chairman O'Gorman, seconded by Mr. Patel. Roll call, please.
Mr. Chabra?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Cerrito?
Yes on the motion.
Ms. Hernandez-Prince?
Yes on the motion.
Vice Chair O'Gorman? And Chairman Kumba?
Yes on the motion. Thank you, Madam Secretary. Thank you, members. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is a regular meeting of the Township of Edison Zoning Board of Adjustment. This board is composed of Edison Township residents appointed by the Municipal Council who volunteer their time in service to the board. The municipal land use law requires that members successfully complete a land use training course administered by the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs. This board also holds in-house training conducted by our board professionals. The zoning board abides by the provisions of the municipal land use law in addition to our board's bylaws. The zoning board is a quasi-judicial land use board, which differs from the township planning board. Under the municipal land use law, board members are required to be impartial and are not allowed to discuss any case prior to its consideration before the board at a hearing. The applicants will have the opportunity to present their case before the board, with the opportunity for board members and board professionals to question the applicant and their witnesses. At the conclusion of the applicant's presentation of their case, the case will be open to the public. Residents within 200 feet of the subject property will be heard, followed by residents from outside of 200 feet. All residents will be sworn in. They'll provide their name and address, and they will be given 6 minutes to comment on the application being considered, without the opportunity for a rebuttal. Residents may ask questions of the applicant's professionals, and board professionals. The board requests that these questions are asked prior to any comments being made on the application. Once commentary begins, the resident's timer will begin. The applicant will be allowed for the opportunity for cross-examination of their witnesses. Under the law, the chair is allowed to stop any comment that is repetitive or is an attempt to filibuster the board. Further, the chair is allowed to stop any commentary that is irrelevant to the case or prohibited from the board's consideration. Once the public portion is closed, all public comment is ended unless new testimony is presented by the applicant. Following closure of the public portion, the applicant will have the right of summation on their application. Following summation, the case will go to the board for a decision. This procedure has been followed by this board and is similar to the procedures followed by boards of adjustment statewide. The municipal land use law requires the board to engage in a balancing act. It is not required to strictly apply township ordinances, zoning plan, or master plan. As a board of adjustment, variances are granted when appropriately necessary, following all legal considerations. As has been the case with prior boards, this board will see where we are, if we are still in session, around 10:30 p.m. I ask that all applicants, professionals, and residents show respect to each other and be civil throughout all proceedings. I ask that you withhold applause, booing, or interrupting of anyone while they are speaking. Madam Secretary, first case on the agenda, please.
Case Z18, 2023, Vikash Kumar, 267 Savoy Ave. Applicant is proposing to extend his single-family dwelling and add rooms to the second-story floor. The following standards have not been met. Max building coverage is 20%, proposed is 24.29%. Max FAR is 37%, proposed is 44.94%. Affected property is located in the RBB zone, designated as block number 933, lot 1.05 on the Edison Township tax map. All noticing paperwork is in order.
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you? Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Vinay Mavincurve from Mavincurve and Patel. I'm representing the applicant, Mr. Vikash Kumar, who's seated to my left. So we're here to talk about 267 Savoy Avenue. I'm hoping to have some background testimony from Mr. Kumar, followed by some expert testimony from our engineer, and that's the way we'll hopefully progress this, all right?
Without
So if we
objection.
could start with Mr. Kumar, please.
Mr. Kumar, raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
And please pull that microphone closer to you.
Right.
Please state your full name for the record.
Vikash Kumar. All right, Mr. Kumar. Isn't it correct that you bought this property on or about July 2012?
Yeah, that's right.
Would you be able to tell the board in your own words what led up to you purchasing this property?
Right. So actually, we were living in Bayonne, in New Jersey, way back in 2011, right? And that time we were looking for property, looking for a single-family house for me and my family. And we were looking for a house. Actually, we looked at the house in Central Jersey, like Clifton, Nutley, or maybe Richfield, or and also in Edison, right? But after comparing all the benefits, like the house, the schooling in Edison and the neighborhood, right? And the Indian community. So we kind of we wished to become a part of Edison resident, right? And so we kind of started the work in 2011. We found it almost took 1 year for us to find a single family house, which that house went through kind of a bidding, but finally we got it. So,
And is it fair to say that you've lived here since 2012?
yes, that's right.
Okay, and what type of home are you looking to construct, sir?
So I'm looking to construct a single family 2-story house, which is the 4-bedroom and a loft area, right? And with 2 garage.
Okay, and what can you tell me about the neighboring properties on that street?
So neighboring, yeah, I mean, I mean, in that Sava Avenue, they are, it's a different houses are there, right? Uh, my immediate neighbors are like a big houses, 263 Savoy Avenue and 259 Savoy Avenue. I mean, they are the big houses, right? And which actually inspired me to build my house, right? And then if I on that Savoy Avenue, we have almost like mid-sized houses, and down to the end we have 298 Savoy Avenue, which is kind of a big one. So it's a mixed bag, I would say.
Okay, now with respect to the design, can you tell me specifically what went into the design and what you were hoping to achieve in putting forward this plan?
Right. So it's all started with COVID, right? Me and my wife both work in New York. We are. I'm working as a bank of. I'm working as a VP manager with Bank of America, and my wife is also a software engineer in Big Media, New York, right? Since after COVID, we started working from home, right? And my son, I have like two children. One is 6 years old, and another is 6 months. So that time my son was 4 months, 4 years old, right? We all were at home, and additionally, I know my parents and my wife parents also used to, they kind of visit us every year. So that time we felt that we need our own private space, each of us, even my kids and my parents, right? And so we started looking for a house uh, in our neighborhood or in Edison, actually, right? And we could not find the house what we're looking for, and there are some reasons on it, right? The reasons are basically, right, first of all, uh, like we are I know we I mean we believe in vastu, and my house is north facing. So we were looking for a north or east facing house, right? The house I'm building is a 4 bedroom house, right? 4 bedroom house. So and um,
Yeah, you're doing some work in the basement, am I right?
yes, right. So, we do have some gatherings at home, almost, and so I don't have a very big backyard, so I can't have those gatherings in my backyard. And we feel that the basement is needed for that gathering, and
Sure,
also,
and
yeah.
the additional bedroom is to be serve a dual purpose, am I right?
Right, right. So, yes. So if you have a guest around, we'll use for them. Otherwise, we'll use them as our office.
Okay, and are you working remotely, sir?
Yes, almost 3 days in a week. Yeah.
Okay, and you're also proposing to construct a new deck, am I right? Can you tell me a little bit about that?
No, deck is already there.
I see.
Yeah.
I apologize. Okay, now what is the parking situation in the neighborhood on Savoy Avenue?
Right. So there is no house in front of my house. So we have almost like two houses are almost like, and I don't see any. We have a very quiet neighborhood, right? And so far in last 11 years, we never face any problem with street parking, anything like that. I do have 4 car garage, right? 4 car driveway and 2 car garage, right? And no one ever felt any problem with the parking in the street or like that. Yeah.
Counsel, before you go to your
Yes,
next
sir.
question, I just want to interrupt. I just want the record to reflect that Mr. Carley has arrived. Counsel, you may proceed.
Thank you.
Good to see you, Charlie.
Do you feel that the house, the way you've designed it, would fit into the overall character of that neighborhood?
Absolutely, I think yes. And to be honest, this inspired. I mean, my neighbor 267 Avenue, they built their own patio, I think a couple of years ago, and that is actually inspired us to go for the renovation of the house. And I think it is very standard to you know 2 story single family house with 4 bedrooms, right? And we do have similar houses in my area. So I don't see. I really feel that will fit well in that community or in that area.
Sure. And do you feel that the construction of this new home would enhance the visual appeal on your street?
Yes, I definitely feel that. There's a lot of time we have spent in design, and my house is almost following all the standards, and it's almost similar to what our neighboring houses are, right? So it's definitely going to add more appeal to
To the neighborhood. Thank you. So at this time, I'd like to call our expert, Andrew Wu.
Counsel,
Yes,
before you,
please.
before you do, I'm just going to go to the board and see if any
Certainly.
of the board members have any questions for the applicant. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Kumar? Mr. Ayat.
Did you say you wanted to
Mr. Ayat, in the microphone, please.
Pardon me?
Speak in the microphone.
Did you say you would like to change the direction of the home? Oh, okay. I'm sorry, misunderstood you.
Just to clarify, the direction of the home is going to remain the same. Am I right?
That's right.
And the house is northeast facing. Am I correct?
It's not. It's not facing house.
Okay, and that's going to remain the same, correct?
Yes, that's right.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ayat. Okay, you may proceed, counsel. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I'm going to request some testimony from Andrew Wu. Mr. Wu, can you?
Hold on.
I apologize. Yeah, if you could
Mr.
swear
Wu,
him
would
in.
you
please.
raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
And please state your full name for for the record.
Andrew Wu.
And Mr. Wu, if you just give us your qualifications, please.
Yeah, I'm a professional engineer and a professional land surveyor. My license is current and good standing, and I have appeared before this board many times.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Wu, what's your experience in preparing site plans for this type of property?
It's the first time they asked me to take a look at the property, and I noticed the original house plan is kind of awkward because the garage is perpendicular to the driveway.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, sir. Before you offer testimony, can I tender him as an expert?
He's already been accepted as an expert.
Oh,
No problem, counsel.
I'll continue. Okay, the old garage is perpendicular to the driveway, so it's making the Mr. Kumar very hard to park the car in the garage and get out. So I advise him to make the new garage straight in, straight out. So that would be easier for him to go inside the garage. And of course, he starting working at home. He needs more space. That's why he extend his living space. We have two variants here: the building coverage and the lot coverage.
Okay. Could you tell us a little bit about the existing use and structure, please?
This is zone RBB in the Edison area, and it's a very quiet and the neighborhood, and it's a very desirable neighborhood. And the old house just not big enough to accommodate my client's needs, so that's why he need to have a bigger space.
What's the size of the existing lot?
The existing lot is 9,571 square feet. The lot is proposed also. The lot is 9,571 square feet.
And what is the square footage of the existing structure and the proposed structure, just so we're clear?
Okay. The existing structure is, we are talking about the floor area is 1,915 square feet. The new floor area is 4,301 square feet. And the building coverage, the Edison zoning code allow 20%. Existing is 15.93. The proposed is 24.49%. It's 4.49% over the Edison zoning requirement.
Okay, now what is contributing to the increase in the floor area ratio as well as the maximum building coverage?
Yeah, because it's our client is extend his living space. So the house used to be 1,525 square feet. Now the new impervious coverage is 2,344 square feet. So in a nutshell, the house is bigger than the old house.
Okay. What, if any, are the impacts on the surrounding properties, sir?
I think with the new house is should increase the overall value of the neighborhood, and this is well designed, and it won't create any parking congestion, and the new house will just like my view, it will just make the neighborhood better.
Okay. Would you say that the house is in scale and harmony with the character of the surrounding neighborhood?
Yes.
Does the house continue to establish appropriate population density?
Yes.
Would you say that the house would contribute to the well-being of the neighborhood?
Definitely, yes.
So the character of the home doesn't deviate from the township regulations, am I right?
You're right, not at all.
Can the property reasonably accommodate the variances that we're seeking? Within the envelope of the lot?
Yes.
Would you say that the lot size is roughly the same as the surrounding properties?
Yes, it's in RBB zone. It's in the neighborhood of about 10,000 square feet.
Do you see any negative impact on the surrounding community?
I tried to figure out some negative impact, but I couldn't figure out one.
Okay. So minimal impact on the neighbors?
No. Just no negative impact.
I have no further questions for the expert.
Does the board have any questions for Mr. Wu? Vice Chairman O'Gorman?
Yes, there's an existing in-ground swimming pool?
No in-ground swimming pool.
No?
No,
Okay.
no,
All right, thank
no
you.
pool.
All right.
Anyone else? Ms. Hernandez-Prince?
Will any of the foliage around the house be affected? Will any trees be taken down? The structures that are existing outside of the home, will they be disturbed in any way?
Do you want to speak into the mic?
No. So we have trees in the backyard, and we are not touching them for this construction.
So, Mr. Wu, I'll ask a question just for clarification. So the, excuse me, the applicant had said something about rebuilding a house, but I'm reading your description and you're extending the house. So essentially the existing home is going to remain and it's just say bumping out, so to speak, correct? I need a yes or no, I can't have a head nod.
It's right. It's making the house bigger, extend.
So you're expanding the footprint of it, correct? And then the current basement, so currently there is a finished basement under the portion of the new section, there will also be a basement. Is the plan for that portion of the basement to be finished?
Yes, it will be finished.
It will be finished. Is there, because there's no detail, it just says proposed basement, so you're not, there's no flavor as to what is going to be in the proposed basement. Is there going to be a bathroom? Is there going to be a kitchen? I think the board needs some more information on that.
So we're just working on that part. We have not yet finalized, but it's going to be a finished basement. Probably we're going to add a bathroom, but we're not yet sure about that.
Okay, Ms. Shaw, you may disagree with me, but I would think that we need a definitive on that before we can reach judgment.
I agree with you. Clarity as to what will go into this
Yes,
resolution and what
yes.
the board is approving.
So we're going to add bathroom in the basement too.
Okay, we need to know where it's going to go. All I'm seeing on your architectural plans is proposed basement.
In the basement.
I know that's going in the basement.
Yeah. In the new area. So it's probably going to be on the wall, on the east wall, from the front. So on the west wall on the front. So facing the other neighbor, what do you call that? The facing, not facing the street. It's not going to face the street. Yeah. So the bathroom is not going to face the street. It's always maybe going maybe in the back side of my basement.
But what I'm trying to explain to you, sir, is that's not going to help me. Where it just says proposed basement, it doesn't give me the peace of mind that if I were to vote for this, that I can. Because you could put anything down there. So our job is to protect the zone plan and protect the residents of this township so that we're not going to give you a carte blanche approval and allow you to put something down there that wouldn't actually conform with the township. Mr. Ayotte, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I have a question for clarity reasons. Are you taking the house down to the foundation and then coming up from there with a new home and an addition to the footprint?
No. So the plan we have is that to keep everything as intact, and just to build in the front. So we have in the front we have a driveway. We're extending the front to match up the garage line, right? And build on top of it. So we are going to keep all the walls intact, plan to keep all the walls intact, whatever it is, and extending to add a living room in my first floor, and then adding 3 bedrooms in my second floor. So not going to rebuild.
So, but you're gutting the entire first floor. You're taking all the walls down, interior walls on the first floor.
No, we are not.
Okay. All right.
Counsel, if you would like, I have a question, but if you need a few minutes with your client.
We might, yeah.
Okay, so my next question is that on the second floor, there is a room titled Great Room. In my experience, a great room is generally on the main family living level. What is this great room?
Right. So
if you could bring the microphone closer to you.
Right.
Thank you, sir.
Right. So right. So I think we want to have. I mean, we have around. So we have 3 bedrooms in second floor, and no space for us to sit as a family. Right. So that's why we wanted to add one gated room in the second floor. Where we can have some entertainment area or a small library to be there. That's the main reasoning behind to have a room, a gated area or a loft area in the second floor.
There's also on the first floor, there's also a family room.
Yes, yes, sir.
So there's going to be 2 rooms for this similar purpose?
It's more like a yoga room, or we want to put some trees. I mean, some plants over there at the back.
In the family room?
In the greater room in the second floor.
In the great room?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Counsel, do you need a few minutes to speak with your client? Because I honestly, given the vagary of this application, just considering with the proposed basement, and I'm not going to speak for the rest of the board, I'm not prepared to consider this application at this point.
Yes, I would appreciate a few minutes to talk to him to kind of.
Bring your microphone, please.
Yes, I would appreciate a few minutes to speak with him to try and gather some more details on that topic.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll give you 5 minutes, so we'll be back at 7:39. We'll return to session. Counsel?
So I've spoken to the client, and he's going to propose or design more detailed drawings that would flesh out for you what the basement is going to include and entail, and submit those in support of the application. So that's the decision.
Okay, thank you. Does the board have any, since rather than have you come back again, I'd rather give you the whole buffet rather than just breakfast. Does the board have any other suggestions or requests with regard to this application?
Yes, Mr. Chair. I have a request.
Please.
I would like to see if the, Mr. Wu, if you could, for the proposed plot and grading plan, if you could elaborate more on the area that was added. What's stating here is a proposed new two-story dwelling. To my understanding is that only the second floor is being demolished and added, and there's addition. So my request would be if you could highlight that area on a different color or a different line weight, showing that this is the proposed new addition, and this is the existing old footprint, not the building, the footprint, just to get a clarity on what area is being touched and what area is being added as new.
Good point. I will do that. I will show the existing and the proposed with different colors.
Okay.
Mr. Hernandez Prince.
Yes, I am not sure if I should direct this towards the engineer or the applicant. The height isn't completely clear to me as to what the height difference would be from the first structure to the second. So as you come back, if you can also kind of point out what the exact difference would be great. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Vice Chairman.
You testified that the deck is existing, and on the drawing it says proposed deck. So if you can clarify that when you come back?
And then also if you can give the dimensions of the deck, be it proposed or existing.
Also, so just, you're going to clarify about the basement and also clarify the two great rooms on the first and second floor? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Madam Secretary, do we have any available dates?
We could do November 21, 2023.
Counsel?
That's fine. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Wu, that'll work for you? November 21st, 2023? We just want to make sure you're available because we don't want to schedule it and then have to postpone if you're not available.
I'm not available on that date.
Okay.
So, yeah.
The other date we have is November 28.
November 28th is good.
Good?
Yeah.
Counsel?
I'm available. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Mr. Kumar, you're the most important person here. You're available? Okay. All right. So for anyone here, for anyone watching at home, this case will be carried until November 28th, 2023. No additional notice required. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
Thank you. You as well. All right. We'll allow for the next case to set up for the. Madam Secretary, if you can call the next case.
Case Z22, 2023, 842 Route 1 LLC, Edison Infinity. Preliminary and final site plan approval is being sought along with use and bulk variances to construct a new two-story building for the existing car dealership while retaining the existing automotive sale and services one-story building. Standards have not been met in accordance with the master plan. Affected property is located in the LI zone designated as block number 265.28 and lot number 64.27 on the Edison Township tax map. All noticing paperwork is in order.
Good evening, counsel.
Good evening, Chairman. For the record, my name is Bob Smith, and I'm a licensed attorney in the state of New Jersey. I'm here tonight representing 842 Route 1 LLC, which is Edison Infinity. And as the Secretary of the Board mentioned, we're seeking preliminary and final site plan approval with bulk variances and also a use variance, because even though this has a car dealership on it, we're expanding it slightly, so we're seeking the expansion of a non-conforming use. which is how we got to the zoning board, because there is a use variance involved. We plan to demolish a portion of the existing car dealership and construct a new two-story, 25,540 square foot car dealership and showroom with additional site improvements. The portion to remain is approximately 3,383 square feet, and automotive dealerships are not permitted in the LI zone, which is why we're seeking to expand the existing non-conforming use. This is a 6.4 acre site, and for the record, we've also received Middlesex County Planning Board approval. Lighting, landscaping, vehicle parking are proposed for the rest of the site. And to summarize the parking, we have 521 dealership inventory parking where the cars will be stored, and 77 spaces for employees and customers, for a total of 598 parking spaces. With regard to the variances that we're seeking, just to provide a formal list, we are seeking a section 37, an attachment for one accessory building side yard setback where 40 feet is required and 19.4 feet is provided, and by the way, also existing. Secondly, section 37-62.11A5, where no sign shall be higher than 20 feet from the ground and 22 feet is put forward before the board. Next, section 37-62.11B1, where no freestanding sign shall exceed 15 feet in height, and we are proposing 22.5 feet. Item 4, section 37-62.11B1, where total square footage of any sign shall not exceed 200 square feet, or 1 square foot for each 5 feet of frontage, and we are proposing 360 square feet. Next, section 37-62.11B1, where 1 freestanding sign is permitted for every 1,600 feet of lot frontage, and 2 freestanding signs are proposed. We have 395 feet of frontage. And lastly, section 37-61.8A, where horizontal illumination shall not exceed 2.5 foot candles and 3.1 foot candles are proposed. It's my intention, Mr. Chairman, to call 4 witnesses tonight. I have seated to my right Phil Mastalone, who is a principal of the firm that is developing the site for Infinity, who has extensive experience in the automotive industry, and we'll introduce him shortly. We have, secondly, John Manolillo, our engineer, licensed professional engineer with Manterra Design. Our architect is Roberto Martinez with CMAC Design. And then finally, our planner is John Taquina, a licensed professional planner registered in the state of New Jersey. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'd ask that Mr. Massalone be sworn so that he can give testimony.
Mr. Smith, if you could just hand down just work down the conveyor belt down your microphone, and then you could just take the one to your right.
Okay.
There we go.
Sir, would you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And just state your full name for the record.
Philip Charles Mastalone.
Mr. Mastalone, for the record, by whom are you employed and in what capacity?
Vice President for Route 46 Auto Group, which is the parent company of Edison Infinity, as well as Edison Nissan and 8 other dealerships.
And would you tell us your experience in the industry?
I've been in the auto industry since 1975. I've been with the company now, year 22 is about to begin.
Terrific. And would you tell the board a little bit about Infinity, its history, not only in Edison, but you have a number of dealerships. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about those.
Sure. Infinity was Toyota's answer to Toyota's Lexus and Acura, Honda's Acura. It's a Highline dealership that was and has been in Edison. I believe, since 1989. It was under the ownership of Ray Catina's umbrella of automobile dealerships. We purchased it approximately 17 months ago and moved it to the site where once upon a time it was Volvo. Previous to that, I believe Saab. And I'm not quite sure the history previous to that.
So why does Infinity want to place a dealership at this location?
Well, we've been in Edison now for, I believe, 10 years. We believe that Edison's a great place to be, and you don't have to believe us. There's car dealerships all throughout Route 1, and probably most of them are very successful. Town is easy to deal with, business friendly, and to be quite honest with you, it's a hotspot for traffic and auto sales.
We're going to go into the details of what's proposed, but you're priding yourself tonight, and you want to make sure you emphasize this point to the board. This is going to be a green dealership. Why do you put that idea forward?
Well, car dealerships have gotten, and repair shops in general, have gotten a bad reputation over the years for not necessarily running their businesses correctly. Whether it is tires, whether it is used motor oil, transmission fluid, antifreeze, batteries, everything is recycled. Cardboard. There is nothing in a dumpster at one of our car dealerships that's any different than the refuse from your own home. It's food waste, lunch, breakfast, things of that nature. We recycle used motor oil. We use it to heat the building during the winter. So we have a cradle to the grave philosophy on that. And when we are not using it, it is recycled into industrial heating oil. So there's nothing coming out of the dealership that's in any way menacing to the environment or the surrounding area.
All right, and I'm going to ask our engineer for even more detail, including the LED lighting and so on. But your dealership wants to be as green as it can be, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay. Let me ask you some more mundane questions. What are the hours of operation for the sales portion of the site and for the maintenance portion of the site?
Sales operates from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Saturday. And service operates 7:30 to 5 p.m. Monday through Saturday.
So there's no Sunday operation for the sales or service?
Absolutely not.
Okay, thank you. And how many employees would you expect to be at this facility?
I'd expect approximately 20 to 25 employees.
Yeah, okay. There were questions presented in the review memos, and you're the most appropriate person. One question was, tell us about the security features at the facility.
So auto theft seems to be running rampant, not only in New Jersey, but across the country. One of the things that we liked so much about this site is with the creek on one side, a closed-in back and side, so west, east, and south, and then a controlled gate and security system. We felt pretty positive about the idea we'd be able to protect our inventory.
And is that inventory locked down?
It is.
Okay, and what do you mean by that?
So we are proposing lighting, parking lot lighting. If there's any motion detected, the lights go from a dim. The exact output, I'd have to refer to one of our paid professionals, to extremely bright with security cameras coming on and a locked gate that is located towards the western edge of the dealership.
Okay, and just overall, has Infinity had its inventory stolen very often?
The only thing that we've ever seen at that site is illegal dumping.
Okay, and which is not going to occur once this site is redeveloped, correct?
It will not be able to, correct.
Okay, so Mr. Chairman, with your permission or with the board attorney's position, one of the review memorandums, I think it was our planners, Mr. Bignell's memorandum said, would you give us a written paragraph describing the sales, service, and storage operation? So we were able to prepare that. I'd ask that it be marked as A1. And then I have copies of the written paragraph, which I'm then going to ask principal to describe in greater detail. That's Mr. Mastalone. So A1, with your permission,
No objection.
it's called a letter from Giovanni Manello, PE, President to the Township of Edison. Now, this is signed by our professional engineer, but Mr. Mastalone is the operations guy. So you're going to have the paragraph, and then he's going to describe what's going on. So, Mr. Chairman, with your permission, we'll bring it up.
Counsel, you can just hand it to the secretary. She'll distribute for us.
So, Phil, if you would, maybe, well, give it a minute because we'll get the letters distributed. Okay, a little, oh, no, two more.
He's been a few years removed from kindergarten, so he's a little slow on his paper distribution skills. We're working on him, though.
You usually handed them back. So,
You can proceed.
thank you.
All right, if you would, Phil, first describe the sales operation.
So the site's been designed with designated customer and employee parking areas which have been labeled with pavement markings. In addition, signage can be provided should the board and/or their professionals request it. Customer parking is located within the front of the site, which facilitates safe movements into the showroom portion of the building. Any customer that would like to see a vehicle within the inventory portion of the site would be escorted by an employee of the dealership. No customer will be allowed to remove or park a vehicle that is located within the inventory parking areas. The movement of the vehicles will be strictly by employees.
And I would be happy to give the board an opportunity if they have any question about any of this to ask.
Yeah, we can do questions right after his.
Okay. Then if you would, how about describing the service function?
Service customers will enter the site and enter directly into the service drive-through where they will park their vehicle and enter to the service writer. So they're actually bringing their vehicles into the service drive, stopping there, and then they come into the service writer area, service department area. An employee will take the parked service vehicle and either drive the vehicle directly into the shop, service area, or park the vehicle on the lot. Service customer will remain in the building and wait for their vehicle within the service waiting area. Once the vehicle has been serviced, the process will work in the reverse order. The service customer will complete any paperwork and payments while an employee brings the customer's vehicle back into the service drive for pickup. Service customer will then enter the service drive, enter the vehicle, and exit the building, or facility, excuse me.
And then finally, if you would, the storage of the vehicles.
So the same entrance and exit that's been at that site for quite a few years is the exact entrance and exit we'll use. Tractor trailer will pull in through the entrance, drive across the front of the dealership, park on the blacktop to the northernmost end of the lot where there's no activity as far as entrance, exit, customer parking, unload their vehicles. That specific area will be marked in the only area where that can occur. Once all the vehicles have been removed from the truck, the vehicle will then be backed up by an employee as giving direction, and then they'll be able to leave the exit and join right into traffic on Route 1 North. It's the same thing that's going on now, and the same thing that I believe has always gone on at the site.
Anything else you want to add, Phil?
When we were designing, and the architect Roberto Martinez and I, when we were designing the site, the one thing that we were very conscious about was the mechanical shop and the dealership is on the northernmost portion of the property. And that is as close as you can get to our neighbors, whether they be the auto body repair shop or our neighbors that are in the mobile home park, we intentionally moved the service and sales facility to the middle of the lot, which is actually about as far away as we can get. So we were very conscious about that and making sure that our operation would have the least impact that they would. Currently, there's a mechanical shop that's literally, I think, 19 feet within the property line. So that was one thing that we were very aware of when we were designing the store. The other thing is, as we do remove a section of that building, the only thing that we're going to be leaving is the old repair shop, which will actually turn into a cleanup department. Washing of cars, polishing of cars, things of that nature. There'll be no mechanical work within that space and nothing that's going to cause any sort of noise or inconvenience for any of our neighbors, whether it's another business or it's any of the residents in the area.
Maybe one last question. I was actually going to stop there, but on the theory that we've told you about earlier in this discussion about this being green, the site has historic fill, correct?
That is correct.
Now, historic fill is not barrels of chemicals. It's junk. It's demolition debris and other kinds of things. The DEP doesn't put it at the top of its list, but it says it's something you should deal with. As a part of your commitment to this site, is it true that you've hired an LSRP, licensed site remediation professional, to put together a remedial action work plan and to clean the site?
That's true.
So one of the additional benefits that's coming out of this application is this site, which has some contamination, not quite what you normally think of when you say the word contamination, but it's going to be taken care of under the LSRP's direction, correct?
That's correct.
All right, and we may have a little bit more from the engineer on that point, but I think that was one of the issues that was brought up in the memo as well. So, Mr. Mastalone is available for questions.
Great, thank you, Mr. Smith. Ms. Maslin, I'm going to kick things off. So, pardon me, with regard to deliveries, is there a certain time for deliveries, or they happen during business hours, prior to business hours?
No, the dealership gets to specify exactly when vehicles are delivered. We will not accept any vehicles before 9 a.m. or after 5 p.m.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir.
And then with regard to spots, I've noticed in car dealerships, there's often times when you'll bring your car in for service and the service tech will go to recover the vehicle to bring it into the garage, and they're constantly hitting the alarm button. Is this something you do, or is this something where, if you have a number spot and say, hey, that Q30 is parked in spot 113 and it's marked on a key fob, is there anything like that you do, or is it?
What we will be doing is, obviously, besides paving to cap the hazardous material underneath, line striping and marking every single parking space. Using the customer's remote to sound the panic button is not acceptable.
Okay. So then it would be marked on the key fob, so it wouldn't be a noise producing issue.
There'll be no, I can tell you that's why we moved the store to the middle of the property. I am very aware of the situation, and I certainly don't want to cause any harm or inconvenience to our neighbors. And in the town of Edison, we've been here a decade. We've had a successful time. Happy to deal with you guys. Like being here, and we're going to continue to expand.
Great, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
You're welcome, sir.
Does anybody on the board have any questions?
Hi, Mr. Chair. Yes, I have a question. I see that your plans call out for a thorough phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 plan. Would you elaborate on the timeframes of those?
I think we're probably better off to get you a more educated answer from one of my paid professionals.
Okay.
Our engineer will take care of that.
Okay. And second question would be environmental report. Do you have any to supply for the board? Environmental report on the site?
One of our paid professionals here is the environmental expert on that matter.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I can gloss over stuff, but if you were looking for, the deep stuff, he's got to give that to you.
Mr. Chairman?
Vice Chairman?
Yes, in Mr. Bicknell's report, one of the items, he says, as a condition of approval, the applicant shall agree that no off-site parking of any kind will be allowed with this approval. The applicant shall indicate how that they will enforce this condition. How are you going to do that?
Well, we have Edison Nissan, that's down the road. They have their own parking. We have Woodbridge Ford, that's up the road. They have their own parking. They actually have 2 locations, service and sales. Edison Infinity is being built for Edison Infinity.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Mr. McDowell?
I put that in the review, because I just wanted the applicant to testify. Really, there's no place for them to park offsite. I was concerned about where they park their employees and things like that in the neighborhoods, and there's really no neighborhood here. You have to go on that property. It's kind of like almost like an island by itself. So that's why I was particular about where his customers park and where his employees park, and the site plan now indicates all that. So I'm satisfied, and that's the reason why the comment was there.
Thank you, Mr. McDowell.
Perhaps with other dealership designs, they do not necessarily take into account that their employees do drive to work and do need to park. We have done that from step one, from day one. So it's all within the confines of Edison Infinity, if you shall approve it.
Great. Anyone else on the board? All right, counsel, thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chairman. Our second witness is Mr. John Manili. Oh, John, I'm not sure if I'm saying it right. But if you'd pronounce it correctly so I can improve.
Sure. So my legal name is Giovanni, Giovanni, last name Manilio, Manilio.
I'd ask that Mr. Manilio be sworn so that he can give testimony.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And
John?
And you already stated your name. Thank you.
And if you could just quickly give your qualifications, sir.
Sure. So I am principal of Manterra Design. I'm a professional engineer licensed in the state of New Jersey and New York. I have a Bachelor of Science degree from Syracuse University, and I've been practicing engineering in the state for 15 years, and my license is in good standing. I haven't testified in front of this board to date, but I have testified in front of over 50 boards throughout the state of New Jersey and local municipalities, including Woodbridge, Old Bridge, Middlesex, South Brunswick, Monroe.
Okay, we'll accept your credentials and welcome. We hope that you rank this as the top board that you're before.
Thank you.
Well, if you give us the evaluation form at the end of the meeting. We'll
There's a email survey.
Okay.
Yeah, so I apologize. I was counting on the technology here for exhibits. So I do have small exhibits that we will hand out, and we do have some extra ones on the podium.
Right, and we should mark them up A2 and A3. Would you describe for the board what they are?
Sure. So A2 is entitled Edison Infinity Aerial Exhibit with today's date. It's an aerial with the property highlighted and the surrounding zoning districts highlighted as well. A3 is a colored rendition of the site plans entitled Edison Infinity Site Rendering with today's date. And again, it's a color rendition of the site along with the zoning tabulations on it.
Save 2, okay, of each.
Your intern quit on me? Seriously? It's too slow? Thank you.
Yeah.
Everybody has one?
Yes, we do. You can proceed.
Okay, so I'm going to start with Exhibit A2, the aerial exhibit. So the property is highlighted in yellow in the middle of the sheet. For direction purposes, north is down on the sheet. So the property is known as Block 265.28, Lot 64.27, located in the LI Light Industry Zone. It has about 650 feet of frontage along Route 1. And as you can see in the exhibit, the site does border the GB, the general business zone, to the west of the site, and the GBH zone, which is another general business zone, to the north of the site. And then the east and south of the site are all within the LI zone as well. Surrounding uses, so there are commercial properties located across Route 1. Edison Collision is located directly to the east of the site. And then there is the mobile home park, which is located to the east and also to the south of the site. And then to the west of the site, you do have commercial, which includes self-storage, and 3 automotive dealerships, including Ferrari, Maserati, and Bentley. The lot is approximately 6.4 acres, irregular in shape. It's wider at the street, and it gets narrower as you get to the south side of the property. As the applicant has testified, there is a brook or a creek on the west side of the property. It is the tributary of the Mill Brook. There was a wetlands LOI issued in 2019 for the property, and we'll submit that to the board. So part of the LOI stated that there actually is no wetlands on the site, and the only thing that is present is state open water, which is shown on the plans, and that has a 50-foot riparian zone to it. There is no flood hazard area that's within the development portion of the site. The actual site is approximately 20 feet above the brook itself. Looking through past approvals, there was 2 resolutions that I was able to find. The automotive dealership was approved in 2007, and it looks like it was constructed not too long after that. And looking at historic aerials, it looks like nothing really has changed on the site for the most part since the original construction. And then there was another approval back in 2017 for a 25,000 square foot automotive dealership, similar in location to this proposal. Again, nothing has changed really on the site. The only thing that has been done in the last 5 years was there was a sanitary sewer system that was provided, and it runs along the back of the site and then to the south, and the final connections within the PSE&G right-of-way. So existing on the site is a automotive dealership. It's 2 stories with an approximate floor area of 7,150 square feet. The footprint of the building is about 5,900 square feet. It is non-conforming with the side yard setback. So the existing setback is 19.4 feet, where 40 feet is required for a principal building. There's currently parking along the frontage and along the side of the building. And then there's a large gravel area along the rest of the site, or majority of the site, where cars are parked kind of haphazardly at the moment. Access to the site is off of Route 1, so there's a separate ingress and egress. We are not proposing any changes to those egress or ingress. And additionally, no work is proposed within the right-of-way of the DOT. So there is historic fill that is present on the site, and the applicant has retained an LSRP. They are in the process of putting together a remedial action plan, which will include capping the site with the building, the pavement, and putting the property with a deed notice. Once those items are in place and all the improvements are constructed, they will be issuing an RAO for the site. Now, I will refer to Exhibit A3, which is the site rendering, and we'll go over the proposal for this site. So the big proposal is the new automotive dealership, which is shown in the middle of the page in the dark brown color. So we're proposing a new 25,540 square foot footprint building. We'll have a partial second floor, which will have administrative offices. The showroom is located in front of the building with customer parking directly in front of it. If you're looking at the exhibit to the right, there's a little bump out there. That is the service drive-through. So that is where vehicles will come in to get serviced. Our customers will come in to drop off their service vehicles. The service area and the shop is located in the rear of the building. Additionally, with an automatic car wash, which would be utilized just for customer vehicles to clean them
either after service or for delivery. We are proposing a small display area tucked in a little courtyard to the east of the building. And also in that area is an entrance for customer parts, and there is customer parking as well in that little nook. The existing building, which is shown in the light brown color, will be reduced in size. So the front portion of the building, which contains the showroom and administrative offices right now, will be demolished, and about 3,300 square feet of the building will remain. And that will be a detail and prep center for the dealership. The additional, all the parking will be cleaned up on the site. Everything will be paved, which will reduce dust and noise from vehicles traveling over the travel surfaces. Everything will be striped, and parking will be contained in an orderly fashion. We are proposing parking spaces of various sizes. So we have, for customer and employee parking, we are proposing 9 by 18 or 9 by 20 if they're adjacent to a retaining wall. And then for the remaining inventory spaces, we are proposing a slightly reduced parking stall size of 8 by 18. Again, its intent is just for storage of vehicles, not to be utilized by the customers, and only to be accessed by the employees. There will be a total of 77 parking spaces for customers and employees, which complies with the township regulations. And the remaining 521 spaces will be for inventory only. We are proposing LED site lighting throughout the site. They all will be dark sky compliant and directed straight down, so nothing is pointed up or outwards. We are proposing an average light intensity of 3.1 foot candles. So that's average throughout the whole site, where 2.5 foot candles permitted. Again, this is an automotive dealership, and unlike other retail stores, a lot of the inventory is stored outdoors, and visibility is important for the viability of the business. But what we did is we're cognizant of the residential neighbors in the back. So the back inventory lot actually has an average of 2.5 foot candles. So we meet the ordinance requirement for the back. What we decided was in the front portion was to brighten it up, especially along Route 1 where all the display vehicles are. And that has an average of about 4 foot candles. So the total for the site is 3.1, but the rear portion is 2.5 foot candles. I know there was also a comment in the planner's report about lowering the light levels or the light pole heights in the residential side, and we have no issues with that, lowering them to 20 feet. After 10 p.m., the intent is for all the lights to be dimmed to 50% power, so they would be reduced, and they would be equipped with motion sensors. So if there is motion sensed, that they would go back up to their brightness, just for security purposes. And then after a certain amount of time, they would go back down to 50%. As far as landscaping, we are proposing street trees along the frontage of the property. I believe 13 trees are required based on the site frontage. We are proposing 6. Again, it is a car dealership and visibility is important. And then you also have the nuisances of bird droppings, leaves falling on cars, sap. So we had placed 6 trees along the edges of the frontage, and we are proposing also shrubs that will be along the whole frontage, along the front line of vehicles as well. In the rear of the site, along the residential section, we are proposing 8-foot tall arborvitaes. I know there was a comment in the planner's letter as well regarding species of planting, and that's something that we're willing to work with your planner on picking a species that would be okay for the site. Additionally, we are proposing an 8-foot solid fence along the rear of the property and along the east side where the residential mobile homes are. And we are also proposing a fence at the driveway to the rear lot, which will be a gate to be closed at nighttime. As far as tree replacement, I think we're a little shy still, but that's another thing that we will comply with, and we will work with the board planner on making sure we hit the number of trees or pay the contribution in lieu of. As far as stormwater, so we are complying with the new stormwater rules, which were in effect when we submitted the application. That includes green infrastructure. So the way we're treating that is we do have a series of pervious pavement areas. So there's 6 pervious pavement basins on the site. And what happens is the water will sheet flow into those areas and infiltrate through the pavement, which will clean the water. And then 2 of those systems also have an underground storage, which contains the water on the site. We are meeting the state and the township's water quality requirements, which cleaning the water, that's coming off the site. And we are meeting the quantity requirements as well. All the water is then discharged to an existing pipe that eventually makes its way to the brook. Signage, we are proposing 4 signs on the building. They include the Infinity logo, the dealer name, which is Edison, the brand Infinity, and then there's another sign over the service center, which says Service Center, which directs all the service customers to the service portion of the building. We comply with the area required for the facade signs, but we are asking for relief on, I believe, 2 of the signs where they're mounted above 20 feet, and we're mounting them at 22 feet. Again, it really has to do with the facade of the building, how the showroom is laid out with the glass and the image from Infinity. Additionally, we are proposing 2 freestanding signs along the frontage, very similar to what BMW and Audi have as far as 2 signs. One of them will be the main brand sign, and the second sign will be utilized for certified pre-owned, where we would need relief where the ordinance permits 1 sign per 1,600 feet of frontage. 1,600. Or 1 per 1,600 feet, and we have signs about 395 feet apart. I do want to note that the GB or the GBH zone, which does permit automotive dealerships, does allow 1 sign per 300 feet of frontage.
And if I can interrupt for a second, do you believe that there is any safety advantage to having that signage in light of the fact of the auto speeds on Route 1 and recognizing where the entrances may be?
Yeah, I think the 2 signs will better identify the site as motorists travel both from northbound and southbound. Even from southbound, you want to make sure you have enough time to get over to make a U-turn. We're also asking for a couple other variances with the freestanding signs. So each sign technically is 180 square feet. It's 22 feet tall and 8 foot wide. But the advertised portion of the sign is only 8 by 8, 64 square feet. The rest of it below it is just the pylon or the structure of the sign. The ordinance permits 132 square feet based on our frontage, and we are proposing 180 square feet per sign. I believe we comply with the total aggregate sign area of 500 square feet permitted and 360 square feet is proposed. And just kind of to wrap up the variances that we are requesting at this time, we're requesting the use variance for the use of automotive sales and service in the LI zone where it's not permitted, but obviously the zones adjacent to us, the GB or in GBH, do permit those uses.
And was previously an auto dealership.
And it was approved twice before the board for an automotive dealership use. The side yard setback now for the accessory building, which was the principal building, of 19.4 feet, where 40 feet is required. Facade sign mounting height of 22 feet, where 20 feet is permitted. Freestanding sign height of 22.5 feet, where 15 feet is permitted. Freestanding sign area of 180 square feet per sign versus 132 square feet permitted. Number of freestanding signs, 2 versus 1. And average light illuminance of 3.1 foot candles average versus 2.5 foot candles permitted.
Covered it?
I think that's it in a nutshell.
Okay, so Mr. Chairman, if you think it's appropriate, maybe we should deal with the reports.
Yes. So we'll start with Mr. Carley's report.
Mr. Carley's report. Okay, give me 1 second. So for the record, Mr. Manalilio.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Does the board want me to go line by line or just touch the ones that?
If we agree to everything except what we disagree with, and how about if we point out what we
So if
disagree
you
with?
tell us what you disagree with, and then we'll hear from Mr. Carley.
Okay, so first, for the record, have you had an opportunity to review the September 18th, 2023 DNR Raritan Engineering, Inc. report?
I have.
Okay. Now, we said we would point out any of our either disagreements or need for clarification. What are they?
So we really don't have much. I think there was one clarification from our environmental consultant that stated for the any import of material or soils that there's a new testing standard that DEP has. And that's the only other item. That's item 9.4F. I think there's just a new testing criteria.
Mr. Carley?
That's new information to me, but I'll accept it. Typically, it was the PP plus, I'm sorry. Typically, historically, it's been PP plus 40 primary pollutants and 40 contaminants. And so if there's a new testing criteria, whatever DEP promulgates, we'll have to, we would abide by. Mr. Menleo?
Yes.
Floor is yours.
That's it. I think we're.
That's it. You're a pretty agreeable man.
Yeah, I would say everything is pretty good, and we can comply with or work with your office on.
Okay. And
Let me throw one in here. With regard to 9.5, the applicant shall provide the following permits. The only note I'd put in there is if needed.
If needed.
All right.
Correct.
Because the discussion, I think, between the town and our engineer is that there may be a DEP permit that is not needed, but whatever the law is, we're going to comply with.
Your site plan indicates that you've gone down a path with DEP and that you have gotten some of your permits, particularly the flood hazard permit.
Yep.
Yes.
And that you've done all the mapping, et cetera, et cetera. You have the 50-foot riparian buffer, et cetera, et cetera. So everything is as needed. So it's those are boxes to check.
Yep.
Very good.
We will comply.
Mr. Carley, do you have anything to add?
No, just for the board's edification, the stormwater management system is pretty straightforward. It routes the water to an underground detention basin towards the south of the property, the rear of the property as you're looking at it, and then it discharges into the tributary to the Mill Brook. The site plan indicates that the applicant has acquired its permits from NJDEP, the flood hazard permits, and I expect that DEP has reviewed that. I expect that Freehold Soil Conservation District will review this also. I went through the stormwater management design report, and it's a competent report. It does touch the bases that are promulgated by the New Jersey Administrative Code at 7:8. There's a couple things I quibble with, but nothing terrible. The site design is pretty straightforward. We just look for them to demonstrate that they have adequate site distances at the one-way entrance into and the one-way exit from the property on to Route 1 North. But other than that, the design is pretty vanilla. So that's the advice I give to you.
Thank you, Mr. Carley. We appreciate it. And then we'll go to the Bignell report.
The Bignell report, yes, sir. So for the record, we have two reports, one dated July 26, 2023, and the other one dated September 14th, 2023. For the record, again, John, have you had the opportunity to review the September 14th, 2023 report?
I have.
Okay. And
Mr. Chairman, not to interrupt.
Mr. Bignell.
I'm looking at the September 14th memo. If we could just go down to plan note 11.
Yep.
You've answered a lot of stuff, so I marked the ones I just want a little more clarification. Maybe it'll make it easier that way.
In fact, why don't we let you take it away? And
So 11E, any rooftop mechanical that needs to be screened from public view?
Yeah, they'll be all rooftop. If it's visible, it will be screened.
I believe you answered F. There's not going to be no outside washing of vehicles. That's all going to be done indoors?
Correct.
Okay. The H, the signage, I know you marked the site plan. Are you going to put up like regular signs on the property for customer parking, employee parking? I'm not so much concerned about the employee because I know they'll figure out where they're going every day, but the customer.
Yeah, I don't think we have any objections putting customer parking signs. We do
Yeah.
have it on the pavement, but if it's snowing or something to that effect.
Yeah, just so that they know where to park, all right?
Not a problem.
The loading, I know you had the 2 loading areas. Can you dimension those on the plan? And then what happens if there's cars parked there? I know there's some employee parking there too, or there's no customer parking. Is there associated with those if you're backing a vehicle in there?
Not that I'm aware of. So we did show 2. So the intent was one is going to be utilized for the most part, which is furthest to the east. But on the off chance that there is 2 car carriers at one time, there is another area that's kind of off the beaten path and not in the main circulation area.
Mr. Chairman, I believe that the ordinance requires that the loading space be dimensioned at 14 by 48 feet. And I know you have enough space there, maybe just a testimony to say it works, and
Yep.
I'll be satisfied with that.
We'll dimension it.
And then pipeline buffering, you have to submit the letters just so we have them on file.
Not a problem.
All right. Tree replacement, your calculations were like not complete. I know you tried, but if it's okay with the board, Mr. Chairman, I'd like that to be a condition that he works with me to figure out the plantings, the numbers, and what goes into the tree fund and the species and things like that, if they agree to that.
I have no objection.
Great, thank you.
And then, and basically talks about the size and the placing of the shrubs and things like that and the size of the trees. An irrigation system, we've been asking everybody to make sure that it's irrigated so we don't lose all the beautiful landscaping that we've been putting in place and then watching it die, so.
We agree to that.
Okay. P just talks about planting it on site. I know we can work with the plans. I know you want to be able to see from the road, and I understand, washing the cars every day because the birds are, doing what they're doing. Yep. Makes it crazy, but we can probably work that out. The 8-foot fence is fine. The brightly lit site, your averages go up real high. I know the overall site average. My only concern with that is that the lights don't intrude to the neighborhood like at night when you're closed. I don't want to see the sky glow, that type of deal. So we have to make sure that doesn't happen because it's happened along the highway and it causes a lot of grief for the residents in the areas. So I heard your testimony that you're going to lower the poles, which is fine.
Yep.
You're going to go to half the foot candles in the back. So what would that be in foot candle? You talked about the average, but the ordinance only requires 0.2 foot candles. You're at 3 point something, 2 point something. And then you go as high as 14, 15 other places on the site.
Yeah, so the 14 and 15 is all along the front display.
Does that get turned down at night? Will that get lowered at night when you're closed?
Yes, all lighting will be dimmed 50%.
Yeah, because I know you need to have lighting at night for security,
Yep.
but it don't have to look like Yankee Stadium when the place is not in operation. All right?
And then these new lights are fully programmable, so you could adjust them as needed after the fact.
Very good. Let's see. And Mr. Chairman, I have no objection to the signs on the building being 2 foot higher than the edge of the building. That's not a big issue. We did, as I think about it, we did grant multiple signs for other dealerships. So I would withdraw my comment about the second sign if it's for safety reasons. Okay, that's up to you. But that's up to you guys. I was
going to ask a question on that. So
okay,
if,
well, that's up to you.
But I'm not going to step on your toes. So I'll let you finish. I made a mental note to myself.
You get to decide. I only give you my opinion. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
I respect your opinion, though, Mr. Bignell. Thank you. Mr. Bignell, with regard to the 2 signs, my understanding is that there's one sign that will be the branding sign of Infinity, and then there'll be another sign which will detail, that it's certified pre-owned. Correct?
Yes.
Can you shed some light on the need for it? Because there's one access driveway to this dealership.
Yeah, comes down to the manufacturer, the branding, letting them, customers know that not only they sell new cars, they sell pre-owned vehicles as well. And again, it's kind of an industry item. It's nice to have two signs so you could show both products. The main sign will be closest to the entrance, and then the certified pre-owned would be closer
Right.
to the display.
Does the second sign help in terms of driver recognition of the location of the dealership, and to that extent provide some added safety factor?
Definitely. The second sign will add more visibility from, like I said, Route 1, both northbound and southbound. The building is further back than the original dealership that's there today. And there is some blockage of visibility as you're going down southbound, specifically with the Edison collision and the other buildings.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Does the board have any questions for Mr. Manilio? Mr.
Yes,
Chapa?
Mr. Chairman. I have a question in regards to the stormwater runoff. So I know this area, that's one of my biggest concerns, the stormwater runoff. I know this area is very prone to flooding, especially during Ida. This area has particularly suffered a significant amount of flooding from the storm waterway. We have a 50-foot stream nearby. So I'd like to see what kind of tactics were used in the design. I see that the grading is everything's graded towards the rear of the lot, so a lot of stormwater runoff is directed towards the rear of the lot. If you could just provide some insight in regards to that.
Sure. So obviously we have to comply with the state and the township requirements when it comes to stormwater. So the specific items in those regulations says not only do we have to reduce or meet the existing flows offsite, we actually have to, clean the water so it's cleaner. And that's all pavement areas. So that's being treated with the pervious pavement. And B, we have to reduce the quantities coming off site. So for a 2-year storm event, you actually have to decrease the flows by 50%. For the 10-year storm, you have to reduce it to 75%. And the 100-year, you have to reduce it to 80%. So we're actually reducing the flows coming off the site. And the way that the site is designed is it doesn't affect the neighbors directly adjacent to it. All the water is captured on site and exiting the same way that it is going today, which is via the brook.
Okay. And I see there's 2 areas labeled as porous pavement areas. Would you elaborate more on that and as to why the applicant would be opposed to increase that area of permeability of asphalt?
Actually we have 6 pervious pavement areas.
Okay.
So the ones that you're looking at are the 2 bigger ones. So it's pervious pavement, and it has detention in it. The other areas are just pervious pavement, so they clean the water and let it go into the ground and into an under drain. Reason we can't have the whole site as pervious pavement is maintenance and durability. So you want to kind of keep them in the parking area spaces because you don't want heavy traffic going over them. Because over time it will clog or deteriorate. So that's why it's kind of located in areas of parking.
Okay. And what percentage would you classify between all the impervious asphalt that's going to be installed? What percentage would you declare as pervious, just for the record?
I don't have the exact number, but just looking at it visually, I would say between 30 and 40%.
30, 40%? Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chopper. Anyone else have any questions for Mr. Manilio? Seeing none.
Mr. Chairman, at this time I'd call Roberto Martinez, our architect. I'd ask that he be sworn so he can give testimony.
Mr. Martinez, would you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And just state your full name for the record.
Roberto Martinez.
And Mr. Martinez, if you could just provide your qualifications briefly.
Sure. I'm a licensed architect in the states of New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and New York. I've been practicing licensed architecture for the past 14 years. I went to school abroad and finished my credentials here in NJIT.
And your licenses are currently in good standing?
They're all in good standing, and I have testified throughout the whole state.
Is this your first time here, too?
The first time here, too.
Oh, well, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
You'll get a survey, too.
Yes.
We'll accept you. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not going to get in your way. Simple question. What is this going to look like?
Nice. No, actually.
Is that the technical term?
Yeah, there is a design language. I don't want to bore you with it, but it's based on the Japanese minimalism. It's called Satoru Tai, which is inspired on nature. The two most abundant elements in Japan are granite as a rock, and the tree is the Sakura tree, which are the only two colors that this building is going to have. It's going to have a ACM, which is a metallic panel that you see throughout all the dealerships, but it's going to be in a dark gray that will try to inspire the granite in Japan. And the only other color will be a band over the facade, which is the one with the Sakura tree colors, something similar to the wood that you have there. It's a faint brown, light tan, and glass. So it's very simple building, straight lines, nothing imposing, a clean glass showroom. The whole showroom is glass, 16 feet tall. The geometry, you can see only 3 rectangles, which one will be the service drive-through, the other rectangle will be the showroom, and the last one is where parts it is. So it's geometrically it's very minimal. The building height is 28 feet. It's not a very high building. They didn't want it something very high. They wanted something. And I can talk to you about the construction type if you want. It's Japanese. They want the latest technology, LED lights, the air conditioning and heating system are all based on the latest energy code 2022. We passed the ComCheck. And the construction materials will be precast concrete walls on around 80% of the building, and the rest will be typical frame just because of the showroom, the amount of glass.
So as he describes this, I'm saying, I want to see this. It's in your package. So please take a look at it because it is a very, very nice building. Anything else you want to add?
No, Mr. Mastalone already said it. We brought the building to the middle, lower portion of the site, which we could have put it in the top to get more imposing, but it's trying to play with the site.
Right, and be sensitive to the neighbors as well.
Exactly.
Okay, and we've said we're trying to be as green as we can be. You've heard about all the things we're doing. What do you think?
Yes, I mean, like I said, the construction materials that we're using is the latest, and we have to pass the energy code regardless. So the building is going to be very environmental friendly.
Mr. Chairman, are architects available for questions?
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions from Mr. Martinez? Mr. Carley, Mr. Brunel, do you have any questions for Mr. Martinez?
I have no further comments.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Our last witness is Mr. John Takina, our planner, licensed professional engineer. I'd ask that Mr. Takina be called and sworn so they can give testimony.
Tina, would you just raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And just state your full name.
My name is John Tykina. It's T as in Thomas, A-I, K as in Kelly, I-N-A. I'm the principal of all things planning and development in South Brunswick, New Jersey. I am a licensed planner in the state of New Jersey and have been since 1992 when I finished my studies at Rutgers University. I've testified before more than 127 boards around the state of New Jersey, and I have the pleasure of being a return contestant here in Edison.
You have enough before us that I don't want a survey from you, so. but your
Not a good
license,
sign.
your license are current and in good standing?
It certainly is.
Excellent, thank you, may proceed.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Mr. Takina, again, I'm not going to get in your way. Would you provide the board with the municipal land use law justifications for both the use variance and the bulk variance that we requested from them tonight?
Certainly. Consistent with my other times before you, I will not repeat anything that anyone else has done. So Mr. Manilio and Mr. Smith have each detailed the variances in exceeding detail, so I will not go through them again. I'll just talk about the criteria that I believe we can show and the board can find for the grant of those variances. First and foremost is the expansion of the non-conforming use. The criteria for consideration of the board is for what is called a D2 variance in the municipal land use law for a not a permitted use, a little bit different than it is for a straight use variance or a D1. Those criteria were examined extensively in the case Burbridge v. Mine Hill from 1990, which really set forth the items for consideration for a expansion of a non-conforming use. So we will show the board how we satisfy the positive and negative criteria, including special reasons. The predominant difference is we don't need to talk about Medici. We don't need to talk about why the governing body didn't zone this as a car dealership because the car dealership exists. And then finally, in terms of the negative criteria, the case law really requires us to focus on how we don't negatively impact our neighbors and how the use can be brought in closer harmony with the surrounding uses, even though it is not a conforming use. And then finally, the board can use this opportunity to provide appropriate and reasonable conditions. So in terms of special reasons, I would submit to you that there are two of them specifically, and I apologize. I will read them, and I will not read them too quickly, or my court reporter will throw something at me. G, to provide sufficient space in appropriate locations for a variety of agricultural, residential, recreational, commercial, and industrial uses in open space, both public and private, according to their respective environmental requirements in order to meet the needs of all New Jersey citizens. And I, to promote a desirable visual environment through creative development techniques and good civic design and arrangement. So the proposed expansion of Edison Infinity with a new 25,000 square foot plus showroom and surface facility at this location of the existing Edison Infinity provides sufficient space at an appropriate location to accommodate a new luxury car dealership with a first-class service facility. As you know, the existing facility is substantially undersized from where Infinity was before, when it was up at Raketina, what is now being constructed as the new Porsche. So this new facility will provide for a new modern luxury dealership that will be appropriate and first class here for Edison. The redesigned site provides appropriate space for inventory storage for both new and pre-owned vehicles. Very, very importantly, the site provides for remediation of the existing contamination on the site and the ultimate issuance of an RAO and a new state-of-the-art stormwater system to provide for the highest level of environmental protections for the residents here in Edison. The new site will be modern and attractive, befitting a luxury dealership in a high-income community like Edison, and significantly improving the appearance of the commercial corridor along Route 1. And then finally, the retention and reuse of portions of the existing building, combined with the state-of-the-art stormwater facilities, supports Edison's sustainability goals. And finally, the reuse of a portion of the site and the site building is cost-effective and provides for an efficient use of the land. And again, reusing, keeping some of the existing building as opposed to building all new, again, supports your sustainability goals. In terms of the signage and the lighting for the site, these are C2 variances where the benefit of granting the relief outweighs any detriment. The requested signage is appropriate for a luxury brand dealership and consistent with signage expected at most of the luxury brands, specifically providing for brand identification and the presence of a luxury certified pre-owned program. The wall signage placement at 22 feet high on the building is appropriate given the scale and the specific architectural details that Mr. Martinez talked about. Finally, the lighting in question is only minimally in excess of the 2.5-foot candle limitation, and it is somewhat disproportionately skewed towards the front of the site with higher levels in the Route 1 display areas. There is zero spillage of light over the property lines, especially to our residential neighbors to the east and to the south. And we also talked about how these lights can be specifically programmed, how they will be dimmed at night to 50%, and be on motion so that they're only at their highest for the minimal time necessary. In terms of the negative criteria applies to both the C variances as well as the D2 variance. As you know, the relief should not be granted if there will be a substantial detriment to the public good, and the relief shall not be granted if there will be a substantial impairment of the zone plan or the master plan. There is certainly no detriment to the public good here. This is a modern luxury auto dealership. It's not a noxious use. The lighting, landscaping, and site design have all been sensitively designed to ensure that our impacts are contained within the site and do not negatively impact our neighbors, especially our residential neighbors to the east and to the south. The use exists, so it may be considered to be somewhat baked into the zone plan. Interestingly, the auto sales use is permitted in the adjacent GB zone to the south, and is certainly less intensive and impactful than many of the permitted LI uses, including warehouses. In terms of your master plan, the 2020 reexamination is still the current master plan document that is applicable here. That report called for continued examination of the commercial corridors, including Route 1, and also for specifically looking at the LI districts where warehousing would be possibly adjacent to residential uses. So the continuing use as a luxury auto dealership essentially eliminates that threat to the site and is certainly not an impairment to that master plan goal. I do think it's important to talk about your pending master plan. The Township Planning Board is spending some significant time, effort, and energy on it to their great credit. I actually wish it was already adopted for this application because we're implementing many of the goals that are talked about, including appropriately controlling large-scale industrial uses while providing for growth of the rateable base along Route 1, implementing green infrastructure strategies, and promoting sustainability initiatives. We're certainly not going to have any impairment to that plan. So for those reasons, I believe the board can make the requisite findings, and I'm available for your questions.
Does the board have any questions for Mr. Tykina? Seeing none. Mr. Bunnell, Mr. Carley?
I have no further comments.
All right. I think we're good. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll still do a survey.
Okay, we will now go out to the public. If there's anyone within 200 feet of the subject site wanting to be heard, if you are within 200 feet, you have received a notice via certified mail.
Sir,
Good
would
evening.
you raise your right hand?
Mr. Chairman,
So,
my
sir-
name is Robert Dolan.
Okay, Mr. Dolan, do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
And please provide your address.
852 Route 1, Edison.
Okay, Mr. Dolan, you'll have 6 minutes to address the board. If you have any questions for the applicant or their professionals, if you could ask them at the beginning. And then once your commentary begins, then your timer will begin.
Okay. First of all, good evening, members. Good evening, applicant, my new neighbors. My name is Robert Dolan, and I'm the managing member of Dolan Edison Associates, which is located 852 Route 1, which is directly adjacent to the proposed development. My office received a copy of the notice yesterday. That notice was dropped in the mailbox. We did not have to sign any certified card. It was just in the box. I received it this morning when I was in my office in Egg Harbor Township. I read it, got in my car, and drove up here. So at approximately 3:30, I entered the municipal building, sat down, and reviewed the plans. So I didn't have a lot of time to go over all this. That's probably my main concern. So Dolan Edison Associates owns and operates a manufactured home community adjacent to the proposed expansion of the car dealership. This expansion of this dealership is over 3.5 times of what its existing structure is. I believe in the beginning, it was called modest. I don't consider this to be modest. This community was established in 1955 and still operates today, 68 years later, as a residential housing community of 107 manufactured homes with a population of approximately 200 Edison Township residents. We're located in the mobile home zone, not the L1 zone. That was changed some time ago. I would have liked to have had my residents attend this meeting since this development impacts their lives directly. I don't live there. They do. So 200 of your residents of the township are going to be affected by this. And I understand that that it's not a requirement of the ordinance that you notify the tenants. It's my responsibility as a landlord to my residents who've lived there for some over 40 years to let them know what's going on with neighboring properties. That's the reason why I decided to attend. I had the opportunity to review the plans at 3:30 this afternoon, and I would hope that this board would consider this fact and the testimony that I am about to give concerning this application and hold off on any final site plan approval this evening. My attendance here is to voice my concerns as well as understand better the impact of this development. A lot of my concerns have been answered based on the testimony of everyone. So some of my concerns are the rear setback of this property to my property line, where all the parking is going to exist, is 15 feet away from some of the manufactured homes that are in the community, which means cars starting, alarms going off are going to directly impact the residents who live at the rear of this property. All the trees are being removed, and I understand that there's going to be a landscape plan, but I did not see the landscape plan in the design that I looked at today. So my concern is the height. I agree with arborvitae, which is a great screener. However, I want to make sure that they're not 3-footers, but if they're going to be put in, that they're 8-footers that create an automatic barrier. We currently have an 8-foot wood fence that we installed, and I understand you're going to be putting in an 8-foot fence also. My only concern is where that's going and who's maintaining fence and the space that goes in between the fence. I understand the drainage plan. My only concern about the drainage plan is there's been no discussion of what the drainage plan is during construction. Because right now, it's just a dirt lot. And there are times when, with heavy rains, we end up getting some of the washout of that dirt onto our property. So that's an important part. The lighting plan sounds great, and I'm hoping that the plan is adhered to in the rear of the section with regard to the dimming of the lights, because that will have a direct impact on the people that are living back there. My only concern is, where do my residents go if the lighting plan that's proposed is not adhered to in the future? So if, for instance, there's a lot of car thefts and they need to keep the lights on brighter, how do my residents object to that in the future? The current use of the property concerns me since they appear to be storing cars. So the way that they're storing cars now, everything's sort of haphazard. When I looked at the plan, it's a great plan on the organization of the cars. My only concern is the cars at the rear of the property and the impact of those vehicles on the residents. Right now, my residents are looking out their windows, looking at a wooded, partially wooded lot. They're going to be looking at just cars and no trees anymore, except for what the barrier is. I would ask the board once again to consider all that I have presented and request no final site plan approval until we've had the adequate time for my professionals to look at this plan, since the direct impact of the tenants. And also, once I can do that, then I can communicate to my residents what's going to happen. That's it.
All right, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Would you like a response?
If you're willing to give a response, yes.
Yeah, I think a little response is in order. First of all, as everyone on the board knows, in order to give proper notice, we have to get a certified list from the tax assessor of the town indicating the owners of property within 200 feet of our property lines. We did that, and we notified everybody on the list, and there's an affidavit saying we notified everybody on the list. And in looking at that, the list was prepared by Joanne Jimenez, tax assessor, on August the 30th, all right? There's a list of people who were served. And I'm going to read some of these to you only because it'll give you a little flavor for the property owners. So Giuseppe Papalardo, 135 Bertha Place, Staten Island, 135 Bertha Place, Staten Island, New York. And I'm guessing, but I assume that would be maybe one of the owners of the trailers, or not? Do you own all the trailers?
Wait, so, Mr. Dolan, if you'd like to, so since you're the only one here, if you can come back up to the podium.
Sure.
So the question again.
So the question is, are your trailers individually owned, or are they owned only by your
Okay,
LLC?
so let's call them what they are. They're manufactured homes. They're not trailers. Trailers
I'm
are
sorry,
something that you
manufactured
pull behind your car. They are each individually owned by the homeowner. We do not own any of them
Okay.
unless it's a new inventory that we're in the process
So
of selling.
what I'm trying to point out is the individual owners within the 200 feet were noticed. All right? So, and I gave an example of Giuseppe Papalardo, 135 Bertha Place, Staten Island, New York. CCSLP, care of Hildebrandt, P.O. Box, 1232 Mountainside, New Jersey. And then I can go down a whole list of similar groups, and including Dolan Edison Associates, that's you,
That's
right?
me.
And the address is 6737 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township.
Okay,
Is that what-
if
is
I
that
may
your-
just for a moment, sorry, I have to correct the record. So when the tax assessor provides the list, it's for the property owner. It's not going to be for the individually owned manufactured homes. So it wouldn't be for the individually owned homes because they are not the actual property owner. The property owner would be Dolan Edison Associates, which was noticed.
Yes.
You do have the notice
correct.
for Dolan.
Right.
We
But
don't have it for each individual owner.
Who's a property owner?
The only property owner is Dolan Edison Associates. So I just wanted the record to be clear.
And I did receive notice,
Did
But
you
my-
receive notice at Egg Harbor Township?
yes, yesterday.
I can't explain the U.S. Post Office.
Neither
We
can
sent it
I.
out in a timely manner, and we have a sworn affidavit that we did. And who are the other entities? Like, forgetting Papalardo, a whole bunch of entities. A lot of them are corporate. But the bottom line is, we complied with our obligation. We noticed everybody within 200 feet. We did so timely. And we have brought 3 professionals and the principal here after putting extensive plans together. And I'm sorry that you didn't have, I don't know what's wrong with the U.S. Post Office. I can't make excuses for them. But he did receive notice, and he is here tonight, and we've had a chance to hear his comments. One comment I do want to respond to is suppose the lights are too bright? And the answer is that what's in the resolution is what counts. If anybody believes that they're aggrieved by the lighting level, municipal court. Either the town can go or the individual can go, citing a violation of the site plan approval. So there is a remedy. But you've also heard from Bill, they want to work with the adjacent neighbors. They don't want to be a burden on them. The only thing they want to get is at least some safety back there in terms of visual, the ability to see the cars. Phil, you want to comment at all?
Sure. One of the things, Mr. Dolan, is that correct, sir? One of the things that you bring up is drainage and stormwater coming down. It's an unimproved site. That's why stormwater comes from the top to the bottom. Part of our plan is not only dealing with the stormwater, but is also dealing with the quality of the water. So something that you feel has been a problem, and I wasn't aware of that, so, quite honestly, that we do address. And not only do we address water coming down, we also address the quality of the water. So I think you'd find that if you wanted to have a discourse with me, I'm available right now to discuss it with you. I'm available to be responsible after the project is built. It's the reason I'm moving my store hundreds of feet away from your end of the property. Is there going to be parking back there? Yes, it's the most unobtrusive use I can have closest to your residence. I'm looking to take my store and build it as close to Route 1 as is possible, with still having parking, and as far away from you and the collision center that makes sense. I'm not looking to stay on the property line. Before you ever came here, I was cognizant of what you might be concerned about. And I think that we've demonstrated it to the board, my architect, my engineer, my environmental guy. I truly understand. We're not strangers to the town. We already operate a dealership there. And we're not looking to cause you any distress or any of your residents. I'll work with you. I'll give you my cell number. I'm not looking to hurt you, sir. I moved as far away as was practical and as far towards the road as is practical. I think that's a sign of goodwill. But I do have to be able to use my 6.4 acres minus roughly the acre for riparian zone that I have to give up because of the riverbank.
Oh, geez.
So I can only tell you here, as someone who has a history with the board and who has a history in the town of Edison, I'm not looking to cause you any distress.
Am I allowed to address this?
We're
I'll
just
allow it.
having a conversation.
We'll allow
Okay,
it.
so
Yeah, we're not supposed to have a conversation.
No, I'm sorry, we aren't that, we're not.
okay, that's why I'm asking if I have the right to answer his comments, or am I done? It's up to you.
I will give you 2 minutes to respond.
Okay, so my concern is not the drainage when you're done. The concern is the runoff during construction. Simple as that. And I'm sure that your contractor will deal with that issue. It would have been
Sir,
nice.
he has the floor. Please don't interrupt. Thank you.
It would have been nice to sit down and talk to you. The 4 previous owners to this property, we sat down and talked. So I was surprised to get the notice today. I had to run up here to do this. I was hoping to have had this conversation with you. I had no idea what your plans were there. So I'm here really to represent my tenants because they're the ones that put bread and butter on my table. So I have a responsibility to them as residents of my community to make sure that they're aware of what's going on. And I realize that the ordinance does not require that, but I'm only bringing it to the board's attention.
Thank you very much. And also, just so the issue that you had risen, that if there was a resident had a problem with lighting or something like that, we have one of the state's finest zoning officials right here, Mr. Ayotte. His office is extremely responsive, so that would be your avenue right there. Okay. Is there anyone else within 200 feet of the subject property want to be heard? Anyone outside of 200 feet of the property want to be heard? Can I get a motion to close the public portion?
Motion to close the public session. Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Public portion is now closed. Mr. Smith,
Could I have 5 minutes with my client?
without objection, we'll take 5 minutes. We'll come back at 9:16.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Chairman, I had an opportunity to talk to my client and the professionals. And even though we could request that you adjourn the vote until next month, this is ego on our part. We think we've put together a pretty solid case for a great use for this property in Edison Township. And your professionals were very, very diagnostic. I think they've brought out all the issues, and I think we've responded in every way we can to be responsive to the town's concerns and the concerns of the neighborhood. So we're going to ask that you take a vote tonight.
Okay. All right. We will now go to the board.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve this application. This applicant has 2 prior zoning board approvals and will comply with the Bicknell and Carley reports, including the tree planting and the irrigation, and has met the positive and negative criteria.
Second.
There are conditions of record. Do you want them read, or do you want to simply just have me incorporate them and then you and I can?
I would appreciate if you would incorporate them, and we'll review them.
We'll
There
review
will
them.
be a stenographic record available as well.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so motion made by Vice Chairman O'Gorman, seconded by Mr. Patel. Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Mr. Chabra?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Cerrito?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. Patel?
Yes.
Ms. Hernandez Prince?
Yes on the motion.
Vice Chair O'Gorman?
Yes.
And Chairman Kumba?
Thank you, Madam Secretary. I'm going to vote yes on the motion. I believe that the applicant has met the positive, negative criteria worthy of approval. They have agreed to all the conditions requested by both the board and the board professionals. This project includes the remediation of the current site. The new use will actually promote clean energy on the site, and it will enhance the current use on the site. And I vote yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members.
Case is approved.
Thank you.
Madam Secretary, is there any other further business to go before the board?
There is not, thank you.
There is none. That being said,
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
motion made by Vice Chairman O'Gorman, seconded by Mr. Patel. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Not yet.
The ayes have it. Board stands adjourned until 7 p.m. on September 26, 2023. Thank you, everyone.
Oh.